Over the course of the last 2 leagues, Galvanic Aura Stacker has become my favorite build in Path of Exile 2. It is an incredibly versatile build with improvements at each level of gear investment not only being raw numbers. You noticeably feel the changes in your character's power. While I've opted to play a non-crit version of this build, damage is never an issue and it handles all content with ease, one-shotting map bosses and defeating pinnacle bosses within seconds. All of this while maintaining high mobility, immunity to shock, chill, temporal chains, and reduced ignite duration, making damage over time a non-issue. The weak point of this build has always been its defenses. However, I find myself dying a lot less this league than last. This may be due to the great defensive nodes enabled by Constricting Command, among the other incredible offensive power this unique enables, making it an easy best-in-slot choice for the helmet position. Our damage is scaled a number of ways. Painter's Servant first converts our elemental damage into 1/3 of each element, fire, cold, and lightning. This enables Trinity to give us a 7% more multiplier per 30 resonance, which on average in my current PoB provides approximately 35 to 40% more damage. Eternal Rage ensures we are always at maximum rage, and with Battle Trance allocated on the passive tree, combines to give us an additional 44% more damage. Furthermore, Berserk increases the effective rage to provide an additional 30% more damage at the cost of needing to solve life degen issues. I opt for a Warrior Invictus with life regeneration in addition to Spirit and All-Res in order to help mitigate this degen. The aforementioned Constricting Command also synergizes, providing flat life regen as an item affix, as well as enabling the In the Thick of It notable, which by itself provides more than half of the 4.4% of base life regen we need in order to not be net negative. Vitality 1 and 2 provide even more life regeneration, and as a result, even in Hideout, the degen is solved and I am net positive without the additional 2.5% granted by the passive tree. Aura stacking is enabled by the Tactician Ascendancy notable, a solid plan. This makes all spirit reservation skills cost half of what they normally would, allowing us to fill all skill gem slots that are not our 2 main damaging skills with persistent auras. For clear, Galvanic Shards and Herald of Thunder wipe screens, and I am deliberate in saying screens plural, because at high investment weapon crafting, with the Ulamon desecrated suffix attacks chain an additional time, Galvanic Beams chain 4 times each, and Herald of Thunder also acquires a single chain, which as a result turns its 6 base targets into a possible 12. In high pack size indoor corridor maps, this is even more noticeable, and you will see lightning chains go around corners and into other rooms. It is incredibly visually satisfying. For single target, the setup is simple. Stormblast bolts are shot into the ground around an enemy, and Mirage Archer equipped with Explosive Shot detonates those bolts for an insane explosion of burst damage. My current investment in this build is approximately 700 divines, and depending on your valuation of current non-crit, high elemental damage double crafted crossbows, could be closer to the 800 or 900 divine range. The majority of this cost is attributed to Headhunter, Rakiata, which in my case was self-farmed via drop, a +3 projectile skills and T1 Spirit Solar Amulet base, and a 5-socket Warrior Invictus. That being said, this build is absolutely playable on a budget. Headhunter, Rakiata, and 5-socket Warrior are luxury items that are definitely not needed for this build. Settling for much cheaper +2 amulets is also perfectly viable. I will go over what strategies you can implement to build this on a budget at the end, and timestamps will be in the description. Without further ado, let's get into the details of this powerhouse of a build. First thing, skill gems. 2 crossbow shots, don't worry about them. They're only for balancing a notable on the passive tree, and I'll get to it when we get to the passive tree. So skill gems start at Galvanic. There was a change this patch with Arjun's Medal. Previously, it gave you a 100% chance to reload your crossbow after killing an enemy. That's now changed down to 25%. I've tried playing around with it. I've tried using it. It's not consistent enough for me, at least at the speed that you're mapping, and when you get, a bunch of attack speed buffs from Headhunter and things like that, to still make you not have to reload or roll when you're reloading. So I personally did not like it this patch. So now the play style has basically been, I have 4 bolts because I'm loading 3 additional with Rathas. This also got nerfed a little bit as well. The attack speed increase, I think, went down to 10% instead of 20, or maybe it was always 10. However, it used to load 4 additional bolts. Now it only loads 3. So you have 4 in the crossbow instead of 5. So now the play style has been 1, 2, 3, 4, fire 4, and dodge roll to reload. So I'm not reloading by myself. I'm always dodge rolling. When I'm mapping, I'm usually dodge rolling pretty frequently anyway. And it's kind of at this point just gotten to a muscle memory where I can just shoot 4 times, reload, shoot, reload, dodge roll. When you dodge roll, you get iframes, so you avoid a bunch of damage as well. So it just kind of helps out with that. That's the way I'm running it. Want to run it a different way and not use Rathas, you're going to have to figure out reload speed, because it's annoying to have to fire 1 or 2 shots and then reload. If your reload speed isn't great, it can really slow you down. The rest of them, Dominance Grasp, supported skills chain 100% more times. This is fantastic because you get an additional chain base on the bolts or on the beams from Galvanic. Even before you get a crossbow that has the extra suffix where your attacks chain additional time, this is still really useful, and you will notice a big difference in your clearing as soon as you put this on. These 2 gems are incredibly cheap, so they should just be in there all the time. Armament for a bit more damage. Fork just helps to clear. Shards fork, you clear the screen. Brachiotas, you don't need this. I dropped it and I was farming it, got really lucky. This has actually been kind of my only really lucky drop of the league. Everything else has just been drops from farming league mechanics, nothing too crazy here and there, just standard stuff that you would get from farming the league mechanics that you're doing. This has been my only really good drop. Excuse me. You don't need it. If you don't have it or you don't want it, use projectile acceleration 3. This feels fantastic for mapping. Your projectiles are like instant. It's like laser hit scan. The speed at which everything goes around is just really smooth, really clean. I use this for 98% of everything that I did up until the point that I dropped this. And I only dropped it recently. So a lot of the gameplay in the beginning was using projectile acceleration. Stormblast, more damage, conk area, pretty standard. Defy 2 is really nice because your damage ends up being lucky. I think lucky damage, I don't know the exact numbers on it. I think it's somewhere between like 25 to 30% more damage when you have lucky, while you're surrounded, and you're always surrounded with even 1 enemy around you because we're running constricting command. I'll get into that when we get into the gear. But Defy 2 is really nice. Close combat, again, 30% more damage. You're basically pre-firing bolts for bosses, single target. You're standing on top of them, dodge rolling, and then your Mirage blows everything up. And then Deliberation, just 20% more damage for this here. The only upgrade here I can think of is to get Rigwalds, where I think you get 30% more damage if you're Stormblast or your skill in weapon set 2. Also, just to reiterate, Galvanic is on weapon set 1. Stormblast is on weapon set 2. Should know by now how to set up your skill bar for the 2. If not, I have it in my previous video going over my build guide from last league about how to set that up. But yeah, only upgrade here is to just get Rigwalds instead of Deliberation, but I haven't bought it yet. I don't really see the need. The damage on here is just overkill at this point. Mirage Archer, which is detonating our Stormblast bolts, and also, to be honest, does a significant amount of damage in mapping as well when your gear is good enough and your levels are higher on the skill gem. Haven't put a level 20 in here yet. I haven't seen the need for it. but Mirage obviously has explosive shot, duration, so it's up longer, cooldown, so it's cooling down quicker, reload, just so it reloads a bit quicker and it's able to shoot the bolts out as fast as it can, and then a little bit of area of effect. You can see the Mirage duration 9.38 seconds, cooldown 7.69. You can get that down a bit more if you want to take some cooldown on the passive tree. Found it hasn't really been needed, so I've just kept it as is. Okay, getting into the rest of the auras. I like running triple Herald for a few reasons. You can also run charge regulation and combat frenzy, because when you pin an enemy, you will get a frenzy charge, and then with frenzy charge, you get 25% increased skill speed. In terms of DPS, charge regulation, combat frenzy is better. You will have about 10 to 12% more damage or more effective DPS, because you're not actually gaining any hit damage with this. It's just the speed, obviously, at which you can fire the bolts out and everything like that. You will get about 10 to 15% more DPS with this, as opposed to running triple Herald. There's a few reasons why I like triple Herald, and especially if you're running the like a more budget version of this build, which I'll go over at the end, some budget things you can do to really reduce the cost of this. Triple Herald is really good for this suffix that you can guarantee on amulets, which is 15%, 10 to 20% increased reservation efficiency of Herald skills. And there's also points on the passive tree over here where you can get 8% there and 8% here and 8% here. So you can actually get a total of 24 on the tree. The reason this is good is if you're running more budget, and which, you know, I'm not, but the main reason why I prefer for myself is triple Herald is purely visual. When you're mapping and you're blowing up enemies and they're exploding in the fireball and Herald of Ash, it's just way more satisfying for myself to see. It's more fun than running the charge regulation combat frenzy and just Herald of Thunder. It looks really boring when it's just the lightning bolt coming down. Okay, the enemies are dying. Sure, it's more DPS, but I don't really care at this point. I like the visual of them blowing up in the fireball. It just looks cool. That's the reason why I prefer it. However, tech-wise, if you're running more budget, when you have those either passive points or the suffix where you have increased reservation efficiency, when you socket gems into the heralds that also reserve spirit, you're gaining that percent reservation efficiency on those gems that are socketed into the heralds. So you can see normally my Herald of Thunder, 15 for the gem itself, and then Deadly Herald would be 10. So that would be 25, but I'm actually reserving, as you can see here, 22 spirit. So you're gaining the effects of everything that's socketed in. So if you don't have as much spirit, I'm currently on 253 spirit. If you're on less spirit, even picking up a few of those passive points on the tree, if you can't sacrifice a suffix slot, if you're kind of tight on affixes on your amulet, you can save a lot of spirit by just socketing a lot of persistence into the heralds. Herald of Thunder is going to help with your clear a lot, so you don't really want to put any stuff in there that's going to take away either from its damage or from its efficiency. But Herald of Ash is pretty negligible. You're just blowing up the enemy, so you don't really need anything. I'd put the mag effect in there just so the explosions are a bit bigger. But Herald of Ice essentially rarely ever procs. Right now, you need a lot of damage, which with the changes to the skill gem on here, we're getting +3 instead of +5 guaranteed. It's noticeable. On my previous character that has the +5 and has more gem levels, I'm proccing the Herald of Ice pretty consistently because I'm freezing enemies pretty much in one shot. But this is hard to proc now. So I'm using it essentially as like a spirit save. Not that I need it, but it's just nice to, reserve a bit less spirit, and I can actually fit in Precision 2 and Precision 1 now instead of just Precision 2 before. I just added the 1 just to have it. But you can save a lot of spirit by just having that. On top of that, you do get the node on the tree, which gives you 40% more, 40% increased of lightning, fire, and cold damage while you have the heralds active. So it's a bit more damage. But yeah, it's what I prefer. Trinity for our more elemental damage per the resonance that we have. Painter Servant splits the damage, so we want to try and keep the damage of our Galvanic as even as possible. You can see here, if I go to the shard, about 44. The fire cold is very similar. The lightning is slightly higher because of the against the darkness jewel that I'm running. I divined it up to a 4% damage is extra lightning, and I have 4 notables in there, so I'm getting 16%. So slightly more than with the Abyss gem that I have for the gain is extra fire and cold, which I'll go over when we get to the tree. But you want to try and keep this as even as possible, so that way your Trinity isn't getting messed up too much. That being said, when you're running Headhunter anyway, or if you pick up a Shrine, that will mess up your Trinity. But you know, you're gaining so much damage from the other things anyway that it's fine. When you're picking up a Shrine, or you're getting like 30 Headhunter buffs that give you extra damage, so that's fine. But yeah, gems in here and everything that I'm running. Vitality helps with life regen. Again, Vitality, you want to run both of those, so that way your degen from Berserk is mitigated. Cannibalism, just to get a little bit of life on kill. I could actually get rid of this and there is a suffix, a desecrated suffix that you can get, which gives you life on kill. So I don't actually, I think, need this increased spirit reservation, because if I drop precision 1, I have enough without it. So for even more min-maxing, I could Omen of Light this off, put the life on kill suffix on, get rid of cannibalism, and then put something else, but there isn't really much else to put. Anyway, with Trinity, you want Utreads, so you can basically, if you get a level 19 gem, just, Lesser Jeweler Orbit, that's all you need. Corrupt it for +1, then put in Fire Mastery and Utreads, so that way you get another +3. You want it to be at a minimum of level 23. That's the break point to get 7% as opposed to 6%. So that's the next break point. Eternal Rage gives us maximum rage at all times, and Berserk is just giving us an increased effect of those of that rage. However, you start degenning life, and we solve that through the gear and then a little bit through the passive tree. Before we get into the passive tree, let's go over our Ascendancy. We are a Tactician for this node specifically. A solid plan. All the persistent buffs have 50% less spirit reservation. So this is what enables us to be able to fit in all of those auras that we just went over in the skill gems. For the other points, this one up here, right where we want them, is really, really good. Pretty underrated, I think, for an Ascendancy point, because all of your projectile damage builds pin, and pinned enemies cannot perform actions. So every enemy that you're hitting is instantly essentially frozen. They get the little chain animation thing on them, and they cannot move. And so defensively, if the enemy cannot move, cannot attack, it can't kill you. So it's actually really good, really underrated, I think, and a fantastic additional point that complements this build really nicely. Last one, I take Polish That Gear. Just gives you a little bit of deflection rating equal to the amount of armor you have, and then you get your evasion rating as extra ailment threshold. We'll get into the passive tree. Fairly standard, not much has changed, well, as opposed to taking some surrounded nodes from the previous version when I was running this build. Just pathing down. You can go through here, you can save some points to just go there. You're losing a little bit of projectile damage here, but it's not the biggest deal. Pathing up to intimidate enemies when you immobilize them, and then all of this damage against immobilized enemies is great. because we are immobilizing every enemy. Pathing down, I'll go over all of the global assigned nodes first, and then the weapon set specific ones. Pathing down, we're taking now all of these surround nodes because we're using constricting command. This enables us to be surrounded all the time, require 4 fewer enemies to be surrounded. So as long as one enemy is around us, we gain all of these bonuses, and the surround nodes are too good not to take them and not to kind of go for this setup. We're gaining here 20% increased attack speed, surrounded area of effect. This just takes it from 3 meters to, I think it ends up being like 4.5. So just, as you're mapping and you're killing everything, you just become surrounded at a larger distance. Regenerate 2.5% of maximum life per second while surrounded. This is great in maps because it just gives you that much more life regeneration. As you can see, even in hideout, I am net positive on my life regen, so I'm not actually degenning from berserk. If I take off, let's say, vitality, you can see let me take off the other one, which will make more of a difference. You see I start degenning down when I'm not on vitality 2. But when I put it back in, I am now positive, or I should be. Oh yeah, let me activate Herald device. And then with that, I am positive. So even in hideout, it's great, but when you're mapping, you just get that much, a little bit more recovery, and it's quite nice. Pathing over and taking movement speed while surrounded. Fantastic. 100% increased attack damage while surrounded. Big damage. Really, really nice. And then these nodes give 25%. So we're getting 100, 25, 50. I think there's another one here. 75, 200%. We're basically getting 200%, 225% increased attack damage while surrounded. And then there's some nice defensive nodes here. Where you get increased evasion rating, armor evasion, really nice. Obviously, pathing over to battle trance to get more maximum rage. This gives you an extra 14. That's why we're at 44 as opposed to 30. Down here, we are taking gem enthusiasts, so we're getting 5% increased max life when we have at least 10 red support gems. And then in crystallized immunities, because the majority of my socketed support gems are green, we are immune to shock. So we're shock immune on this build. We're shock immune, basically slow immune, and a reduced ignite duration on us because we're also using cool headed. So if I go into the character sheet and you go down to ailment protection, immune to shock, ignite duration on self, minus 50%. Which is quite nice. So for crystallized immunities, when I mentioned at the beginning the 2 crossbow shots, this is just to balance and give me majority green gems. You can use these to balance out. If you need more red gems, put some red gems in, balance it out. But just be cognizant that these are weapon set specific. So you might have majority on, when you're on weapon set 1, but then if you swap over and you have different colors in weapon set 2, it doesn't always line up. So just make sure when you're on both weapon sets, you are immune to shock on both of them. And you always have your 10 reds, so that way you're always getting that 5% increased maximum life. Again, up here, we are just taking some reduced movement speed penalty while using skills. Projectiles, 12% chance to fire 2 additional while moving is quite nice as well. Attack damage while moving. This is some nice damage over here. We're taking elemental damage with attack skills during any flask effect. We're using La Vianjas, so the flask is always affecting us, so this is always up. If you are not using Rakiata, this is a great node to take, where you penetrate 15% elemental resistances. Once you have Rakiata, pen actually isn't that great, because I believe how it works is it will penetrate and then invert, but you cannot penetrate resistances to below 0%. I actually need to fix my anoint, to be honest, because my anoint is actually giving me some elemental penetration in primal sundering. So I need to actually fix that because I do not want any more now that I have Rocky on. Again, going up over here to get some more skill speed, and movement speed is always nice. This gives you a little bit of movement speed, which is great there. Some attack damage, and then pathing up over here to get the Against the Darkness slot, where we're getting 4% of damage as extra lightning. Again, between the Against the Darkness and the Heart of the Well, you want to balance the 3 elements that you're gaining extra as, because these are not converted by Painter's Servant. Any gain as extra or gain as will stand alone. So you want to balance it as well as you can to make sure that the damage is as evenly split as possible. Because everyone's playing Ice Shot, the damage is extra cold is like 2 to 3 times the price of fire or lightning. So get lightning or fire here and get cold and the other missing element on the Heart of the Well. I divine this to 15-14. I'm not going to try and divine it to get 15-15. It's really unnecessary. I bought it at like 11-11, and within like 3 divines, I got this divine. So it was pretty nice. And yeah, everything I'm taking here is strictly for the Against the Darkness, as well as some reduced slowing potency. So the reason we're able to be slow immune on this build, and it's not actually showing the radius over here, which is a little bit annoying. Fix the game, please. But the From Nothing first, I'd take Trusted Kinship, so I can allocate over here. I'm getting Coming Calamity because I'm running Triple Herald, and then this is just a little bit of increased general damage. It's just % increased damage, not elemental, so it affects everything. And then I'm taking Unhindered with 1 point of slow effect. In total, I believe I'm at 96% reduced potency of slowing effects. So I have 1% chill, 1% temporal chains. So I'm basically slow immune. So these all add up here. So here we're getting 28. And then I think this gives another 10 and then another 8 there. I don't believe anything here gives this is reduced movement penalty. I'm getting another, how much is here? So yeah, 5% there, 8%, 8%, and 4. So this is another 25. And then the other amount that I'm getting, so I got a little bit lucky with this Heart of the Well, where it also has reduced slowing potency of debuffs. It's just saving me some passive points up here. But the other really nice tech that I'm doing in this league is this is actually a time lost. So it has a radius there. You can see if I hover, it shows you the radius, but when I socket it, it just goes away. Maybe if I close and reopen, no, okay, it doesn't want to work. But you can see the radius there. So this notable and then these 3 are being affected by what I have on here. And I have notable passives and radius grant 5% reduced slowing potency. So I have 5, 10, 15, an extra 20% from this jewel over here, which is quite nice. So it's just saving me some passive points. The little notable like increased projectile, increased attack speed, sure, it adds up a little bit, but it's really not doing much. It's really here to just give me some slow immune, which is nice because I hate chill. Like chill is horrible in this game. Like you can get chilled to like 40-50%. It's just horrible. Like the chill magnitude is brutal to deal with, so I'd rather just not deal with it and be essentially slow immune. Same with temporal chains. It's so egregious. It's like it's way too powerful. It's really annoying. You don't need the upgrade radius to very large. I thought maybe it would hit like something over here, but I should have popped it first. It's fine. Just a dead suffix, but yeah. For the weapon sets now, in set 1, I am just taking again over here, just some more movement speed after killing. Some stuff over here for movement speed, reduced slowing potency. Just as you're Galvanic and you're going, you just want to be fast. Down here, 20% chance for damage to be lucky and 20% chance of damage hitting you to be unlucky. nice little damage boost and a little defensive boost. And then this gives movement speed. So that's always nice. Movement speed is premium in this game. Weapon set 2 for Stormblast. A little bit of damage down here against rare and uniques. Really only using it on maybe some super tanky Abyss rares or, some Delirium stuff, or obviously single target for bosses. Just some more attack speed over here, which is nice. Increased shock magnitude over here is really nice. This by itself on the tree brings you to 35% shock. And then I have a 30% increase on my glove slot to bring it up to, I believe my shock magnitude right now is 41%. So that's quite nice for a single target, giving you 41% shock on the enemies. Okay, that is the passive tree. Let's get into the gear. First thing, Constricting Command. Mentioned it a bunch of times. This has got to be best in slot, at least for this setup. I didn't use it last league. I was using just a rare helmet. But then when the league ended, I thought, let me see if I can kind of fit it in. I had to solve for some other things because my helmet was giving me a lot of resistances. But then if you get the correct stats on your Warrior Invictus, you're able to solve all of those issues. So Constricting Command, high life roll, obviously for fewer enemies to be surrounded. These I don't think are even that expensive anymore. Even like the ones that are nearly perfect rolls, like 4 fewer, and yeah, nearly perfect life with 4, it's under a divine. Like this is really cheap. Life regen with 11, even that. If you go max regen, okay, maybe not max 30 divines, you don't need that, but like, I don't know, if you even go, this is more than enough. Even for all attributes, okay, 15, whatever it is. Yeah, 14 attributes, 2 divines. Like it's fantastic. This enables so much for 2 divines. It is like very build helping and really, really nice. The Warrior Invictus I'm using to help with a bunch of things. Life regen, so that way I can stay net positive in maps or in hideout. All res and spirit. You want 14 spirit on this. The 5 sockets are rare this league because they got rid of the Omen of Corruption, which can guarantee an outcome. So the 5 sockets are a little bit more scarce this league. So, and they are corrupted, so you do absolutely want to have the 14 spirit. But if you just go to, min roll on each, 60 divines is not bad. I bought this one with these rolls for, I think I paid 75. So it's actually not bad. They are coming down in price a little bit, but you can use a 4 socket on here as long as you do have the 14 spirit. I'll go over, budget options you can do at the end. Right now, I'm just socketing for masterworked body runes for 75 maximum life, trying to just get as much life as I can. I'm a little bit low, 2,600 life, but the final kind of like upgrade-ish would be to put a Legacy of Greymake Alder rune in here, but they're way too expensive. I kind of messed up and I should have bought Alder's Legacies when they were like 50 div, like a week-ish or so ago. Now they're like into the hundreds of divs, so that would have been a really nice investment to sell off even if I didn't use it right away. But they're just really expensive right now, so I'm going to hold off, probably not do it. That will be like the absolute end thing if I do decide to continue min-maxing this build or move on to another build. Headhunter you don't need, but it makes mapping super fun, especially when we don't have choice in this game to choose the layouts of the maps we want to run. And Headhunter just makes some of the bad maps playable, to be honest. Like it just saved me from not turning off the PC and going and doing something else, because some of the maps are just terrible, especially if you want to run like Breach and you want to run and you're forced to run these maps with these tiny little corridors. It's like, why the fuck are you doing Breach on these maps? Like, no one wants to do that. The reason Breach is fun in PoE 1 is because we can just run Dunes or Jungle Valley or even City Square, something open all day, and it's fun. Can't do it here. So that's why I've been kind of running Abyss most of the league, because Abyss is somewhat map agnostic. You can pretty much run it on everything. And now, especially with the changes where the Anamanu void circle lasts shorter and the enemies try and move out of them, it's a little bit easier now. For those changes, even on those small corridor maps and the enemies just won't move, it's just so egregious. Like, just let us choose what map we want to run. I don't understand why taking away player choice is seen as a positive design decision. We have so much choice in PoE 1 to play the game how we want, and that's what made me fall in love with PoE. Is just we need that level of choice going forward in PoE 2. There's just no way around it, and I'll die on that hill. Painters splits our damage, elemental damage 3 ways to enable Trinity. Get any decent roll of the as extra. The triple 10s, actually, corrupted ones are not that expensive. I had this 10-10-9, which was uncorrupted, and then I just threw a Vol Orb on it, and I got an extra socket, so I just kept it, as opposed to buying a triple 10 with 2 socket. I think they were a little bit more expensive. Boots, very standard. Just movement speed, a little bit of armor, evasion. This is the only rarity I have on my gear. I played without rarity this entire league, and I made tons of currency. I don't want to say rarity is not necessary, because when you're min-maxing, obviously rarity gives you a benefit, so I'm not going to say you don't need it. But for me, didn't feel like it was necessary. I farmed Abyss probably 95% of this league to make all my currency, and I was dropping Omens of Light pretty consistently. You get lucky when you're opening some chests. You get some ancient desecrated currency that comes out. Abyssal Echoes drop like candy. As long as you're doing it correctly and you're setting up your tablets correctly, I didn't feel like rarity was a crutch this league at all. Obviously, in the super min max, if you're going to get rarity on boots and rings, that's really the only slot I can get it anyway, and maybe a little bit on the amulet. But I didn't feel like I needed rarity, and I don't even like it. Rarity is super cringe that it affects currency. Just delete it from the game or make it affect uniques like it does in PoE 1. It's dumb. The upward or the more drops of divines being more common has helped a ton. It's really nice. I've dropped 149 raw div drops this league, which is really nice. Don't know if the rune mechanic and expedition in the map includes that, but more raw divs than I've dropped in literally any other league, which is really nice. 149 raw drops, and then hundreds, if not, over 1,000 that I made just from farming currency and farming league mechanics. Oops. Rings, you want flat damage, and then all res just to fill out your resistances. The rings can get expensive. You do want high flat damage, helps a ton. The little bit of evasion I have on here is also quite nice. It does help a little bit. The amulet, this base alone, it was the spirit and +3 projectile skills. It was kind of expensive. It cost me about, I think it was 60 divines. And then I crafted the remaining. I got incredibly lucky on the suffix greater exalt to slam into all res. That was really lucky. I catalyst for life, and then use the homogenizing catalyzation, and then used a greater exalt, and ended up slamming into tier 2 life, which was incredibly lucky as well. I got burned on some homogenizing catalyst omens, trying to craft rings like 15 times this league. So finally I got lucky and something worked out for me. Slammed into the T1 life or T2 life, and then I used cold catalyst because I actually needed to solve for some cold res. And then I slammed a suffix and I ended up getting all res, which was like the absolute best outcome. T2, good enough. Really happy with that. And then I guarantee desecrated for the reservation efficiency for that. Don't think I need it anymore. So maybe I'll try an Omen of Light it off, but there really aren't a lot of really great suffixes that I need. Maybe the Life on Kill, we'll see. But for now, this amulet is pretty much perfect. I could try and use a Perfect Essence to get rid of this mana and get the global increased defenses, but I'm too scared to hit the life. And then it would cost a lot to then have to annul off, the other. I mean, yeah, I'd have to annul off the prefix, and those omens are very expensive. And then I would have to life again, slam it, hope I get lucky. We'll see. Maybe a currency dump. Final thing is the weapon. So there's a lot of different things you can do with this weapon in terms of how much you want to invest. The market for the weapons right now is very weird. Everyone is going to be playing crit on this build because that's the way that Rutu build made this build out, and the crit version is fantastic. It just can get very expensive, especially if you need Garokans, which is between a 200 to 300 plus divine gem in itself. But you can compromise here because you do not need the attacks chain an additional time. This, once you get it, is really crazy for the amount of clear that you just get on top of the clear already being really good. Because with the attacks chain and additional time, your beams now chain 4 times because it goes from 1 to 2. And then you get, with Dominus, it's chaining 100% more times. So it's doubling it. So it's actually insane. Like if I take this off, I think it only goes, it goes down to 2, the 1 base and then the 1 extra. And then this just makes it absolutely insane. On top of that, Herald of Thunder also gets a chain down here, chain count 1. So your Herald of Thunder is also able to chain. So it can hit 6 targets with the buff. Lightning bolts. Why isn't it showing? It should do the 6 targets. When you're mapping and you see the number, it goes up to 6. I don't know why it's not showing based off of the 4. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Here we go. 4 and then the extra 2 from quality. So the 6, those are able to chain. So you get a lot of clear, and it's really nice when you get that. However, it's a desecrated suffix, and to get a budget crossbow or something a little bit better, typically you're finding, 2 good prefixes like a flat T1 flat lightning, LE damage with attacks, and then you're desecrating for the 3rd prefix. To find stuff that has 3 good prefixes that are not desecrated can get expensive. I'll show you some things I have for like in my market that I used previously that you can use as opposed to something like this, which is double crafted as well and then has the additional desecrated modifier. Stuff like this can get expensive, but depending on your budget, the extra chain is really good. However, you do want T1 flat lightning, I think is a must have on here. And then the LE damage with attacks is really good. Better than I think having 3 flat. Cold here is a bit of a compromise. Fire is better because the roll ranges of fire are higher. On average, you're getting more fire damage. And because it's getting then converted, you're getting more damage overall. But this crossbow is pretty much my end game. I don't think I'm going to attempt to craft something better. It gets way too expensive to get, the really high tiers of crossbow crafting and crafting really good items in general. It's just, I don't think it's worth it for me at this point. This is pretty much GG Crossbow for me. Okay, that's pretty much going over everything. Again, it's long again. I knew I said I wouldn't make it super long. That, you know, it just ends up being that way. What you can do for budget. Run triple Herald. Get either reservation on your amulet if you're not getting a solar amulet base with a +3. +3s with T1 Spirit on non-solar bases, I think they're coming down in price. +2s you can use as well. So get the Spirit reservation. Take the reservation efficiency on the tree. Use a 4-socket Warrior. Will be cheaper. You do kind of want life regen, all res, and spirit though, because the res will help in getting your resistances up, considering you can't get res on your gloves or your helmet. So use a 4-socket. You can save on some cost there. You will have a little bit less spirit, but again, you're reserving or you're getting more reservation efficiency if you have a suffix, and then the points on the passive tree will help you fit in all of the core gems that you need, and then just use your Herald of Ice and Herald of Ash to dump any more spirit reserving support gems to then bring the cost of those gems down. Don't need Headhunter. Obviously, this is like probably half the cost. Nah, maybe, 40% of the cost of the build is a Headhunter. You don't need it. It just makes the game more fun. So, yeah. Crossbow, you can compromise here. The attacks chain and additional time, you do not need it. You can find a good crossbow that has T1 with a desecration for T2 or T1. They are significantly cheaper. And then you can put in a rune that gives you an extra crafted modifier. Hit it with a bunch of essences until you get +3 in onslaught, and you're good to go. I have crossbows in here that I previously used. This one I was using for a long time, and it was perfectly fine. T1 lightning, T1 LE damage with attacks, T3 desecrated fire damage, and then the double craft. Perfectly fine, but no one's buying it. I don't guess no one wants to play LE damage version. The crossbow market is really weird. So yeah, I don't know. This is just something I crafted, and this is something I crafted as well. But something like this, perfectly fine. It works great. There's this thing in the game now where bosses are dropping 2-stat rare items. And it's actually pretty good because you can find some 2-stat crossbows with 2 good prefixes, like a T1 flat and like a T1 LE damage increase, or like a T1 T2. I don't think they're that expensive. Buy it, desecrate the prefix. If you hit something good, fantastic. You have a crossbow that will last you the whole game. It's really only when you start getting into the little min maxes that it kind of takes the build to the next level in terms of efficiency, but in terms of raw power, it doesn't change it that much. So with things like that. So those are some things you can do to save on cost. Again, with this is actually the 4-socket I was using before I upgraded. Life regen, spirit, and all LE res. I don't actually know how much they are right now. Have it up, mine up for 35 divines. Yeah, mine's way too expensive. 15 divines for these with 4 sockets. Super cheap. Saves you on a ton of cost. You're 5 times less expensive than the 5-socket. So I'm actually going to lower my price on this one. Let's go. Someone can have a deal. Sure. 10 div. All right, guys. That is pretty much the build. It is really fun. I love this version so much more than the one I showcased last, because Constricting Command just enables a lot of really great stuff. Probably going to keep playing this build for a while. There might be some other things I want to try. I want to try maybe some monk martial artist stuff, which looks really fun. But yeah, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. All the timestamps, again, if you want to jump around, will be in the description. Subscribe, like, comment, anything, questions. Appreciate any support you guys have, and enjoy. Thank you. See you next time.